Hey everyone, welcome to your vinyasa practice. We're continuing with our contralateral movement and balance, which has a lot to do with core stabilization and the neuroplasticity. So learning to do something new and challenging our brain, carving new neural pathways. And so that's the focus for this month. It has been, and we're going to continue to see what that feels like in our bodies and our physical practice. And then, as always, it's an invitation to take this off of the mat and see how it might manifest in your working life, your relationships, sitting in traffic, going grocery shopping, all the other things that you do with your time. How does your yoga practice translate um, to that? And it might show up in many different ways. So this is just an invitation and a reminder to notice. I'll give you the option of starting off in downward facing dog today. And like I mentioned last week, if downward facing dog is too much on the wrist right away, or if it becomes too tiresome throughout the practice at all, or ever, you can always take a knee, you can take child's pose, you can take tabletop. And yeah, so we'll get started. Root down through the hands. Relax your head. If you're taking child's pose, you can fold your hands and rest your forehead on the back of the hands. And just start to lengthen out through the back body. Whether or not you're in child's pose or downward facing dog, this is true. Start to breathe a little bit deeper. Feel free to add a little bit of movement here, maybe kind of like swaying the weight side to side. Maybe right palm, left palm. Maybe moving the hip side to side. You can start to feel that weight shift from right foot to left foot. Legs can be straight here in down dog, or you can start to bend the knees. Especially if you're in down dog, really root through the whole palm, especially the inner knuckle mounds. Let's take about 3 more breaths in this first shape. And then we'll inhale and come forward. If you're coming from down dog, finding high plank. If you're coming from child's pose, maybe you meet us in high plank or you shift into tabletop. Either way, let's root down through the whole palm, just recommitting to that palm, pressing down, fingers spreading wide, connecting with index finger and thumb. And actually all 10 fingers are really gripping the mat here. Pressing the floor away, there's this slight round through the upper back, but the neck is long. So the back of the neck is long. You're looking down between your hands. Take one more breath here, wherever here is. And then if you are in high plank, let's meet in tabletop. We'll extend the left leg back and the right arm forward. Just give it a nice big stretch, right fingertips to that left leg. This is that contralateral movement. And then come back to tabletop. We'll do the second side, right leg back, left arm forward. Keep pressing the floor away with that right palm and left shin. Come back to tabletop. And then let's just go side to side a couple of times just to get this feeling of contralateral movement moving through the body. So just continue on your own, breathing in opposite limbs, stretching away from one another. Maybe it's the inhale where you extend and the exhale where you come back to tabletop. And while you're doing this, reaching, see if you can keep your navel hugged into the spine and slightly tuck the tailbone under. Okay, so try to stay really engaged through that core, the center of the spine. One more time to each side. Good. And then we're going to come all the way down onto the belly for a few variations of low cobra. So walking the hands alongside the lower rib cage, tucking the chin, resting the forehead, squeeze the elbows into the side of the body. Press down through the tops of the feet. Inhale, press the floor away, lift the chin and the chest. Now when you exhale, turn to look at your right shoulder and release through your left cheek down onto the mat. And then when you inhale, come back up through center. Exhale, looking over the left shoulder, relaxing down through the right cheek. Inhale, come back up through center. And then exhale, look right. Inhale through center. Exhale, look left. One more time, side to side. So inhaling through center. Exhale, you're turning your gaze, just lengthening out through the side of the neck. Let's come back through center, tuck the chin, rest the forehead, tuck the toes. Press down through the ball mounds of the feet. Get really active through the legs. Really press down through the palms of the hands. Keep those elbows squeezing into the side. Can you feel your whole body get nice and tight and strong? Maybe see if you can press up to high plank from here. And then in your high plank, press the hips high, downward facing dog. Let's take 3 breaths here. All right, so we'll inhale, lift our heels, a little bend in those knees. Start to walk your way forward towards the top of your mat. Take an inhale breath when you get there. Find that halfway lift, flat back, strong spine. Exhale, forward fold, relax the head. Deep breath in, deep breath out. And press down through your feet, come all the way up to standing, just rolling through the spine to get there. And then one thing that I might suggest here before we start to really flow through our practice is that you have a prop on either end of your mat. So you can see my little green blocks, one at the top, one at the bottom. You don't have to have yoga blocks. Anything will do. A stool, chairs, a stack of pillows, just something that brings the floor up a little bit higher. It's definitely not required, but it might make your practice just a little bit easier. Let's move through a few sun salutations with that little bit of contralateral movement, and then we'll add on to our standing poses. Inhale, arms reach out and up. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant those palms, step to high plank. Pause in your high plank. Shift the weight into the right hand. Stay really stable and grounded through the core. Just come to your left fingertips. And notice that rotation of the hips. If that's happening, dial that left hip down. And then switch out the hands. So left palm plants, come to your right fingertips. Notice that rotation of the right hip wanting to open, dial it down. And then replant that right palm. Shift forward onto the tippy toes. Lower all the way onto the belly. You can come through chaturanga if you want. Press down through the tops of the feet and the palms of the hands. Keep the elbows squeezing in close. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, turn to the right, lower the left cheek. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, turn to the left, lower the right cheek. Inhale, lift through center. And then exhale, release back down through neutral in the spine. So tuck the chin, rest the forehead. Now tuck the toes. We're going to do that little exercise of getting really tight, 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 like a piece of plywood. Press the floor away, engage the quads, engage the core, squeeze the glutes. Maybe from here, press up to a high plank. And then lift the hips high, downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Lift the heels, a little bend in those knees. Walk your way forward. When you get to the top of your mat, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, refold. Root through your feet, stretch the arms forward, come all the way to standing. And then exhale, hands to the heart. And just take a moment, pause here, breathe. In and out through the nose. One more time through that, Surya Namaskar A, our sun salutation, and then we'll add on. Inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale to your halfway lift. Exhale to plant your palms, stepping into high plank. Shift forward onto those toes. Keep the elbows hugging close as you lower to the belly. Untuck the feet, press down through the tops of the feet, the palms of the hands. Lift the chin and the chest. Exhale, turn and look over your right shoulder, lower the left cheek. Inhale, press up through center, turning the gaze towards your left shoulder. Inhale, press up through center, lower the forehead to the mat. Neutral rotation in your spine. Tucking the toes under, engage your quadriceps, get really tight through the legs, tuck your tailbone under so it's like the low belly is trying to lift off the mat. Keep your elbows squeezing in close, press up to high plank, nice and strong. Lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Deep breath in, deep breath out. All right, so from here, this is where we're gonna add on. In your downward facing dog, stretch your right leg high. Keep that right leg lifted, and you might open that hip a little bit. Sometimes it feels easier to keep the right leg lifted, at least for me, if I open the hip, okay? You could also work a little bit more core strength and stabilization by keeping that right hip dialed down towards the mat. Either way, press down through your right palm, come to your left fingertips. Keep relaxing your head here. Take one more breath. Now root down through your left hand, pull your right knee in towards the chest, shift forward, right foot plants between the hands. All right. And then maybe you take a prop, if you have it, at the top of the mat, root the left hand into that prop, underneath that left shoulder, reach the right arm high up towards the ceiling. So just come to a twist. Deep breath in here. Deep breath out. And then start to turn your shoulder to face down. Rise up to crescent lunge. And then you can extend both arms up towards the ceiling. Little bend in that left knee. Stay stable and solid in the right foot. If you feel a little wobbly here in your lunge at first, that's totally normal. The ankles are just doing the job of stabilizing you. We're going to spin this open into warrior two. So pivot that back foot flat. Heel toe that right foot more towards the center of your mat. Recommit to the bend of your right knee. And then commit to rooting down through your left foot. Now here, you're going to look forward towards the top of your mat. Maybe your prop is waiting for you. Left hand to the hip. And then see if you can extend your weight forward into the right leg. Float your left leg up, reaching your right hands forward to find that prop or the floor. The left arm might lift, the left shoulder and hip are turning open towards the ceiling. So half moon pose, Ardha Chandrasana, here we are. Let's breathe. Keep that top leg active, engaged, tight, squeezing the glutes, flexing that left foot. Take one more breath here. And then we're going to take a soft landing into warrior two. So just right back from where you came, warrior two. Turn the toes out, turn the heels in, come into a horse stance. Walk those heels forward until the ankles stack underneath the knees, and just take a moment here to sit low. I like to rest my hands on the thighs so I can focus a little bit more on the legs. See if you can relax the shoulders down the back, grow tall through the spine, big breath in. And then we're just going to turn to warrior two towards the back of our mat. So stretch those legs towards straight, pivot through the feet. That left foot is now your lead leg in warrior two. Left toes pointing towards the back of your mat. Bend into that left knee. Extend your arms wide. Settle in here, pause and breathe. And then the right hand can come to the right hip. Look down at the bottom of your mat. You might see a prop there if you've placed one for yourself. You're going to start to shift the weight forward into that left foot. Left fingertips might extend for your prop. As you float the right leg up and back, the right shoulder, right hip, all of that starts to open up towards the ceiling. The right arm might lift, balancing on your left leg. Top leg stays very strong, active, engaged. Here we are at the back of our mat in half moon pose, Ardha Chandrasana. Just notice what that feels like. Take one more breath here. And then we're going to take another soft landing into our warrior two. Pivoting back into our horse stance. Toes out, heels in. Take a moment, sit low. And then lengthen out through the legs. Just pivot back to the top of the mat. Plant the palms, step into high plank. Shift forward from high plank onto the tippy toes. Lower all the way to the belly. Inhale, press up, low cobra. Exhale, turn the gaze. Relax that left cheek to the mat. Inhale through center. Turn the gaze. Relax that right cheek to the mat. Inhale through center. And then exhale, rest your forehead for a moment as you prepare the body for plank. Getting really tight through the lower legs, tucking the tailbone. Imagine you could peel that lower belly away from the mat, squeeze the elbows in, press up to high plank, and then lift into down dog. Pause here for a moment, deep breath in, deep breath out. All right, so second side from here. Inhale, lift your left leg high. Left leg is lifting high. You might turn that hip open if you want. You might dial that left hip down. You could play with both. Either way, stay rooted through your left hand, really strong root through your whole palm. And then come to the right fingertips. Keep relaxing your head here. This is not an easy shape, so if you feel like it's a challenge, yes, it is. You are correct. All right, then replant that right palm. Shift forward, hugging the left knee into the chest, left foot plants. And then we're gonna root through that right hand. Maybe you find a prop there. Right palm stays rooted, left arm's gonna sweep high towards that ceiling. You're in a little twist, a little rotation in your lunge. And then left shoulder turns back to face the mat. Just simply rise up to crescent lunge here. Feel yourself wobble if that's happening. Let yourself stabilize. Let yourself land in this shape. And then we'll open up into warrior two. Now this side, we're gonna go front to back on our mat from warrior two to half moon pose. This time we're gonna flow it a little bit side to side. So that's gonna challenge the balance. You remember you have your props here if you're using them. And working on just letting ourselves feel wobbly, fall out, come back in to the point of what might feel like a failure. That's okay. All right, so warrior two. And then just look forward towards the top of the mat where you're gonna go into your half moon. Those left fingertips lead the way. So you're reaching forward with that left hand, balancing on the left leg, the right leg lifts. See if you can keep it tight and active. And then we're gonna softly land back in our warrior two. Turn the toes out, heels in, land in our goddess stance, our horse stance. Pivoting through the toes first, so right toes point towards the back of the mat, landing in your warrior two. Pause here for a moment, get nice and tall. And then we're gonna reach towards the back of the mat with that right hand. Maybe you find your prop waiting for you there as you float up into Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. Landing in warrior two, turning the feet to pivot to horse stance. And then we're just gonna flow this a couple of times. So we might get rid of that horse stance so it feels a little bit more fluid. The key shapes I want you to move through, the warrior two transition to your half moon transition, top of the mat, back of the mat. Right, so start to head into your half moon if you're not already there. Find yourself in your half moon fully. And then once you're there, landing softly into your warrior two. And then using the feet to pivot, warrior two to the back of the mat. Okay, so you can, again, skip that horse stance. Once your toes are pointing towards the back of the mat, reach with that back arm. And wind up in your half moon pose, back of the mat. And so now I think you see where we're going with this. Landing back in your warrior two stance, pivot those feet, top of the mat, heading into half moon. So you don't have to go as fast as me, or you don't have to go as slow as me. Kind of let this be an exploration between these shapes in your own body. And notice what that feels like in your body. Does it feel wobbly? Does it feel stable? Does it feel fluid? Does it feel like you're dancing between shapes and movements on your mat? And if it doesn't, that's okay. If it feels awkward and weird, okay. You're doing something different and new, maybe. And that's typically going to feel awkward and challenging. So that's always something to be embraced in a yoga practice. All right, one more time each side. I'm up at the top of my mat. Last time I go through this will be towards the back of my mat. You don't have to, again, you don't have to be coming as fast as I am, but just be sure you're rounding yourself out. And then once you've completed that last cycle towards the back, come forward, plant those palms, top of the mat, step into high plank. Pause here, breathe. Shift forward onto those toes, lower to the belly. Inhale, find your low cobra. Exhale, release that left cheek. Inhale through center. Exhale, release that right cheek. Inhale through center. Exhale, tuck the chin, rest the forehead. And from here, we're just going to simply press all the way back to child's pose. Start to cool things down. Take a moment. Breathe into the back body. And then let's meet up on our backs. Just do a little bit of work. It will be more cooling, more grounding, but it will be work for the core. So last little bit of contralateral movement, we're gonna wind up on our back in a reverse tabletop or dead bug shape, right? So knees on top of hips. Okay, knees on top of hips, knees are bent about 90 degrees, arms stretched up towards the ceiling. Now opposite limbs, right? Just like you did in your tabletop, we're just reversing that. So as the right leg moves down and forward, left arm reaches overhead. Come back through center. Try not to let the knees pass the hips towards the belly, but keep them stacked. And then left leg, right arm. Back to that dead bug or reverse tabletop. Right leg, left arm. Back through center. Right arm, left leg. Back through center. Now start to move this on your own, side to side. Notice what's happening in the low back. If it really wants to lift, see if you can tuck the tailbone under slightly. See if you can imagine pressing down to the low back, sealing that low back into the mat. And that's not going to completely happen. It's okay if it curls away a little bit, but we don't want to overextend the low back. Okay, one more time each side. And then hug the knees into the chest. You rock a little bit side to side if you like. Release the feet to the mat, keep the knees bent. Arms alongside the body, palms face down. Press into your feet. Inhale, lift your hips. Extend the right arm overhead. Keep the lift of the hips. Lift that left knee. Imagine you could pull that left knee into the chest and then press that left foot up towards the ceiling. Release that left foot. Release the right arm. Release the pelvis. Press the floor away with the feet. Lift the hips up. Left arm extends overhead. Imagine you can hug that right knee into the chest without using the hands, and then extend that right foot up towards the ceiling. And then replant that right foot. Release that left arm. Pelvis relaxes. One more time each side. Press the floor away, lift the hips, right arm overhead, left knee into chest, left foot towards the ceiling. Back through center. Pelvis relaxes. Last time here, pelvis lifts, left arm reaches overhead, right knee into the chest, right foot up towards the ceiling. And then let all of that go. Let it come back down. One more time, hugging those knees into the chest. Give yourself a little squeeze, a little rock side to side. Opening up into happy baby. You could reach up for the soles of the feet or anywhere along the backs of the legs. Keep the shoulders relaxed, the neck neutral. Feel free to practice stillness here or add movement. See if you can get a little bit more of your lower back and the back of the pelvis in contact with the mat. And your happy baby. Couple more breaths here. One more time, hugging the knees into the chest, and then just briefly rotate those knees off to the left-hand side. Right arm extends off to the right. Deep breath into the belly in your twist. Deep breath out, settle. Start to rotate to your second side, both knees to your right, left arm extends off to the left. Breathe deep into your belly. Start to unwind, come back through center. We'll set up for a 2-minute Shavasana. Whatever your Shavasana looks like, can you let it be supported so that you can find a place to be still? Even if you want to come to a seated position or take your legs up the wall, can you support your body in a way that you can find stillness? As you relax here, deep breath in through the nose. Open your mouth, exhale. Let the eyes sink out into their sockets. Let your back teeth part. Begin to just breathe gently in and out through the nose. Shavasana. If you need to move on with your day, take your time, but start to slowly awaken fingertips and toes. Maybe move your head side to side. If you have more time, please feel free to stay in Shavasana longer. It's always an open invitation. If you're coming along with me to close out the practice, bend the knees, roll off to a side. Passing through fetal position, we'll press to an upright seat. Feel free to grab any props to support your seat. Just finding a nice tall spine, shoulders stack over hips, ears stack over shoulders, palms can rest face down on the thighs. Come back to that inhale and exhale through the nose. Closing out our practice, I invite you to bring your hands together at the heart and bow the chin into the chest. Taking a moment here to offer reverence and gratitude for the practice. May we use the fruits to serve our highest good, share it with those around us that we love and who could use healing. May we remember to send love and healing to all sentient beings around the world. May they be happy, may they be free. Namaste. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed your practice. If you have any questions, please reach out. Email me at tessa@tessatovar.com, and hope you come back again soon. In the meantime, take care of yourselves.